So a lot of times what we're doing is directly supporting sales efforts. And nobody has a hard time understanding, that if you introduce a customer to someone selling a service or a product, and they make a sale, then you've created value, right? So we do a lot of lead gen. We do a lot of lead development, and it keeps salespeople in touch with their clients in between, in between touch points. So it's email newsletters and social media and things like that. And what I absolutely love is when one of our clients will call us and say, you helped me. We ghost wrote this piece. We published an article, and it was out there, and my phone rang, and it was a guy who hadn't thought of me, and now we're doing a deal together. And that happens more than you might think, so.
Where you help write the blog post or the article.
Well, usually we didn't help write it. We wrote it. Yeah.
You took their ideas, you write it.
Yeah, it's our clients' ideas, but we are the writers because that's, they're good at commercial mortgage brokerage or commercial real estate or finance. And then we are good at articulating that and making it
telling
make
it a
sense.
certain way.
Exactly.
You
making
tell it
it
a
make
certain
sense
way.
to human beings.
Right. You tell it a certain way. The receiving end, the person who reads it, let's say it's a customer, is like, whoa, that really hit me in the right spot.
Yeah.
Like, I got to call this dude up.
Or it just reminds them that they're out there. Honestly, a lot of times in a deal-oriented business like investment banking or real estate, if you're a owner of a company, you only need to sell your company once every, couple decades or so. But if you are in the real estate business, maybe you will trade buildings ever so often.
Yes.
But in between, do you need a mortgage broker every time, for example? Maybe not. Sometimes the financing just comes together directly with the bank. You don't need a broker, but it might come down the line when you need a broker again. And so if you want to think, the broker wants you to think of them at exactly the right point when you need them. And so they need to keep in touch with people on a more regular basis. They need to be in the media, or they need to be on LinkedIn, and just have people remember, oh yeah, that guy really helped me the last time. So.
Okay. So, how about in that example you just described where maybe there is a real estate developer who wants to sell their company, or a different company that wants to sell their company? You had told me about this before we jumped on this podcast. Like, have you seen experiences where a company's price tag changes because of the way the story is told?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, any investment banker worth their salt will say part of the pre-sale process, if you're going to sell a company, is to get the narrative right and to articulate that business story.
By the way, have you followed WeWork at all?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
What a shit show that's been. Oh my God. Adam Newman.
They could have used a little more help on their narrative.
Oh my God. They should have totally hired you. Because that's real estate. It's finance. It's all in your wheelhouse. Did they call you? Are they your client?
No,
do we have you to blame for this?
I'd love to have WeWork as a client. So,
If you're listening, Adam Newman.
Yeah,
if you're listening, Adam Newman.
Yeah.
Less Run DMC and weed and more Margie Sweeney.
And honestly, more women on your board.
Boom.
No, they, any company that is going to go public or sell themselves to another company,
privately,
they've got to get in front of what the story is and understand also what their weak points are. I'm a PR person. I'm positive by nature. We always want to see the good in something.
We'll find the great way to say this. Come on, exactly. We got this.
But when we're behind the scenes, when we're getting that story together, we have to be the ones.
You and your other PR people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh shit! This thing is a piece of shit. How are we going to tell this story?
No, it's not like that. It's okay, here's the realistic things. Here's the tough questions people are going to ask you. So let's get ready. Let's do some media training.
Again, this is where you get real.
Yeah, let's tell the story, and let's think about the questions people are going to ask you. And I actually think if we're going to go with WeWork as the example, nobody challenged them on people are going to call you out and not have any women on your board. That's going to be a thing in this era.
Wow.
And it would have been so easy for them to fix that problem before it went public.
I got to tell you, there's some. I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the sketchy shit he was doing. He was buying buildings himself with fashion designers. He'd buy a big building, and then he'd rent. That he bought it on his personal balance sheet, and then he'd rent that building to WeWork, the corporation, and WeWork would be paying him personally rent.
I think there's a lot of those deals that people are talking about, and I usually stick to, I'm not an expert in real estate investment. Like, I don't have an MBA in real estate finance. Okay. I help people tell their stories. We help articulate the stories. And I think that that's probably a case where if that's the way he had been doing business, which was legal in the way that he was doing it, as far as I understand it, then he needed to look at that and say, okay, how am I going to tell the story so it doesn't seem shady to people?
It does seem like he's hurting his. It's not illegal.
Right.
He's just hurting his shareholders potentially, depending on what he chooses to charge them rent. And he has so much power in this.
And that's something that that I think before all of this was kind of cracked open with their IPO, that could have been something that they could have had a narrative around, not to fool the public. Like I said, I'm very into authentic leadership. But to actually say why does this make sense?
All right,
you're explaining, it's not making sense to you, or you think there's potential.
I've read it millions of times. I'm trying to figure out what the hell, how could this possibly have gone on? And the two ways it goes on is, one, somehow he had, and like this is like Zuckerberg, they have, even though the normal voting power is per share, one vote for one share. But how it's come in these new tech companies, it's like, no. Zuckerberg gets 40 votes per share for each of his shares. It's like, what? Yeah, because he's the CEO. That's how he decided. So Newman had that. Adam Newman had that. He would have basically the major voting power of the board. So no matter what the board decides, he could veto whatever he wants because he had the voting power to do that. And so let's say he buys a building, right? He buys Willis Tower, let's just say. And he's like, I'm going to rent out half this thing to WeWork.
Just your average building.
Yeah,
the tallest building.
Yeah, tallest building in Chicago.
We'll just use that as an example.
And he rents out half of it to WeWork, right? And he says, I want $1,000 a square foot. Well, Adam, it's only $500 in the market. Yeah, but I want $1,000. Okay. How can WeWork say no? WeWork has to say yes. It's his shareholders' money that's saying yes.
I would say that if anything he's doing is legal and the way that it's financially set up and it's legal, then it's up for the market to decide. Like, people can choose to invest or not invest.
Which they have.
I mean, that's the way it works.
But you as a marketing person would have been like, Adam, this looks shady. You better start explaining. And he might have been like, well, Margie, I actually was trying to make a whole bunch of money for myself off of this. And that's when you'd be like, you probably need to come clean and say, I effed up, and I'm now releasing these buildings. I'm selling this off to other buyers. WeWork and its success is more important to me than my personal
and
wealth.
You're actually getting to I don't know.
That would have been authentic, potentially.
I don't know what was happening behind the scenes.
It was an
actually, I'm pretty sure they have some good communications people because their marketing kicks ass. Like, I have to say, like, the way that
general marketing?
Absolutely.
Agreed. Their IPO marketing completely effed up. They were trying to get $50 billion, then they went down to $20 billion. And now they're for valuation.
What's $30 billion between friends? Come on.
A WeWork beer tap, $30 billion. I don't know. And now we're gonna postpone our IPO. Like, it's like they weren't even gonna get 20. They would have gotten 10. My whole argument was Regis. Have you heard of Regis? Of
course, yeah.
They're a $12 billion company, and they have 5 times as much real estate as WeWork.
They've been quietly around for a really long time.
Yeah, can WeWork really be worth much more than $12 billion?
And they're
probably not.
Yeah, they have an interesting place in the market. But I think I think WeWork is doing a lot of great things, actually, and I think that they have been true disruptors in the market.
Okay.
And, I obviously some things were bungled with the IPO, but I don't want to speculate as to what was happening behind the scenes. But what PR marketing people like me deal with sometimes is behind the scenes. People don't want to tell you the whole story, or they're like, I just phrase this nicely, make it pretty, make it sound good. And if they're not disclosing, like, the advice that I give to executives is like, be candid with your PR people. Totally. Be candid. If you're paying somebody to be your communications advisor, like,
communicate.
You're always under a some kind of confidentiality agreement. So if you're working with a reputable firm,
it's like with your lawyer. Tell your lawyer everything.
Yeah, or why are you paying them?
They're out to help you.
Like, they can't protect you from something they don't know exists.